Could you still play an audience the way Hitchcock can? They do, but it's a different audience, and it's a different playing. See, the audience has been raised on films which are very loud, which have a climax every 2 seconds. The scene with John Gavin and Janet Leigh in the beginning.
What do I do with my free
The element there is the bra. Okay. But it's shot very simply, but ominously. There's something ominous about it. The scenes in the office are kind of all right, you know. But that Texan, for his style, the blandness of the scenes and the blandness of the framing is just really a kind of a bridge to get you to the next major moment. I think his instinct is right in telling stories like that. How benign can we make these images that just connect the dots? The best scenes for me are ones he must have spent time on, the driving shots. You had to spend time on those, particularly the points of view somehow. And the framing of Janet Leigh in the center of the frame with top of the steering wheel and the bottom of the frame. Because you can make a choice. You can go above the steering wheel, you know, or you can go further out. But then maybe you won't see her eyes as well. So that's like the perfect size. The scene with the policeman. Of course, the framing of him staring into the car. Yes, we know with the glasses he's scary. But there's something about the restraint of those frames. See, and the more you restrain, the better it is when the explosion happens. And on the way to the explosion, there are these meditative states driving. And there's a sense of movement ahead. She steals money, then she decides to drive away, then she becomes guilty about it. Then she meets this guy in a motel and he's telling her all his problems. You're watching, you want to know what happens. She's going to bring that money back? Now what is Anthony Perkins really going to do? You know, he has his mother there. Maybe there's going to be this whole thing going on with the mother and him and her. And I mean, you're taken down a path. But what's great about it is that all your expectations are taken and turned upside down at that time. As it is now, we expect certain things. And it took storytelling at that time and says, no, I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to give you something else. Because you think everything is so cool. You're the end of the 50s, the 60s are going to look glorious to us. I think it was really important for who we were then. You have Vietnam, you have World Revolution, you have everything that happened in the 60s, and the society has never been the same. That picture really touched upon that, I think, Psycho. Of course, you want everything so neat and wrapped up. Well, life isn't like that. Even the stories I'm going to tell you are not like that now. I'm eager, very eager, for audiences around the world to experience Kim Ki-young's Hanyo, or The Housemaid. I have no idea how he continued to work throughout the governmental restrictions and prohibitions imposed during the Park Chung-hee era. Because The Housemaid is unlike anything else I've ever seen in movies, and a world away from the rest of Korean cinema. You can feel echoes of it in horror films like Whispering Corridors and A Tale of Two Sisters. But Kim's film has its own rich sense of perversity and everyday madness. I mean, there's a kinship with Louis Buñuel and also with Poe's writings. Every image, every movement, every action is controlled. The film is hair-raisingly sharp in every detail. And I'll admit, it's quite unnerving. And I'm really excited and proud that the World Cinema Foundation, which was launched in Cannes 1 year ago, has helped to facilitate the restoration and preservation of this remarkable picture, which I can safely say is quite unlike anything I've ever seen. Personally speaking, I was startled the first time I saw the picture by its mood of upset, its bold expressionism, its sense of the potential danger in all human interaction, and its intense and passionately realized sense of claustrophobia. I don't think it's an easy film, but it is a rich and rewarding one. And it's easy to understand the profound effect Hanyo has had on so many filmmakers in Korea, including Park Chan-wook, Im Sang-soo, and Bong Joon-ho. And within the last 10 years, Kim Ki-young's pictures have become much better known and more available in the West. And I hope that the trend continues. The restoration of this picture, which was undertaken by the Korean Film Archive with the support and the collaboration of the World Cinema Project, was quite an undertaking because 2 reels of the original negative were lost. And the only usable element was an original release print with enormous English subtitles that had to be digitally removed. It was hard work, but I think it was well worth it. And now, it's my great pleasure to present Hanyo, or The Housemaid. Assuming there's good and there's bad. Assuming something is wrong and something is right. What are we, ultimately? as human beings? Are we fundamentally good? Are we fundamentally bad? I think there's where you. That's why you can watch these films again and again and again. The Shining is fascinating for that. It's really all going on in his head, Jack's head.
Yeah.
You know, but those scenes, you come across certain kinds of films that when you go to the theater and when you see them, you're completely surprised. They make you look at life a different way. They make you look at being human a different way. They touch areas that you don't want touched sometimes.
Yeah.
It's provoke you, which
Right.
is good. And then there's that rarest of films where when you see it continually over years, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you still see more in it to learn how to make
Yeah.
pictures. To learn. And remember, when you get tired, especially if you make 10 or 12 films in your life, and you get tired, you say, why, how can I get that better? What can I do? You look at that source, you look at that inspiration, you say, well, Kubrick wouldn't let it stay this way.
Yeah.
He would have changed that angle, he would have worked it out, he would have tried to figure out getting more time to shoot the scene this way or that way. He would have really seen it to its end.
Yeah.
And for that inspiration, I must say, it's looking at his films, sometimes you can see the rhythm of the cutting and the camera moves. And when he cuts in a two-shot conversation, the classic one is Mr. Grady and Jack Torrance in the bathroom,
Right.
crossing the invisible line,
Right.
with the red background.
Yeah.
The cuts, and when he destroys the invisible line, and when the shot gets tighter, on which line of dialogue, with great control.
Yeah.
It does. It's not handheld.
Yeah.
It pans calmly, but not calmly. There's a kind of tension when it reaches a certain position, then pans back. And on top of that, I see on the list the name Shinya Tsukamoto. I said, Shinya Tsukamoto, I know that name. Is that the guy who did Tetsuo, the Iron Man, back in the 80s? That black and white, crazed, hallucinatory, avant-garde, I don't know what, you know? And then he made this other thing, which I don't know what, a sort of black and white film called The Snake of June, and with a woman, Cora...
The Snake of June?
A Snake of June. It's very, very beautiful. And he's out. He was like an avant-garde filmmaker. His last film he did was another version of Fires on the Plain. That they showed in Venice. And he also acted it as Ichi the Killer in that crazy Miike film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I said, that's not the same guy. It can't be. And I looked at them and I said, it is. What's he doing here? Remarkable film.
Yeah.
Hereditary. Oh, yes. He just started this, kid. It took me 40 years to get there. But the thing is that somehow there's she gets involved with a medium who's going to bring her daughter back at least, and they think she's losing her mind. I don't know why. It's about the silences, yes, but you just know it's gonna. And Patrick Byrne, is it? Yeah. He's trying Gabriel Byrne. He's trying to hold it together.
Yeah.
The boy is excellent. She's remarkable. By the way, if you haven't seen this thing, it is a horror picture, and there are sequences later. Death of the sister, truly horrifying. Really, in the beginning, the family is really what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was really electrified by the dynamic of what you see that's expressed in this scene. That scene is an indication of who they are, what that relationship is. And you could take the plot point out about the dead sister. It could be about him not finishing school. Again, it was one cut and camera move, right, that she stands up. Yeah, it's quite something. And the restraint in the frame is extraordinary. About the whole movie, the horror the idea of taking the horror. For me, this film, when you take the horror out, it still works. And so it's a very interesting thing. And his new film, Midsummer's.
Yeah, Midsummer,
Yeah. I try to watch films. It's very hard sometimes to be able to find the time. And when you do something that stands out is amazing, and this did. The story is, I believe, I've forgotten some of it, I'm sorry, but what I didn't forget was the family, the three of them. And that's what's important in terms of this filmmaker.
Yeah.
And these actors, they're astounding. Yeah. The actual supernatural plot to it, I remember, of course, and I remember the ending very well.
But what I really think is powerful in the film is really the family dynamic, and what this kind of a metaphor is. This dinner sequence is remarkable. Sequences where she goes into his room and it intercuts with him in flames. Somehow she's creating a situation where he burns up in a sense.
Yes.
And the intercutting and how it's done. It's just wonderful filmmaking, really. Disturbing, there's no doubt. I mean, it's a horror film that way, but it's more than that. It reminds me of the best of the horror of the Val Lewton films and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't say it's made the same way, but it's elevated up to the Changeling, the Haunting, the Innocence. You know, the horror aspects of it, they shock you in a good way. I think they shock you into a kind of awakening in a way of the real pain of these people. It really does. It's almost like dream nightmares in the middle of the day that you're having.
Wow. The most extraordinarily new voices in world cinema. And I've seen a lot of pictures, but this is, I've seen it a couple of times now. And has everyone gotten over the panic attack at least? It's remarkable for many different levels. Besides, again, the second time I looked at it, really seeing the technical artistry of it. That's one thing I had the pleasure of knowing. The first time I looked at it, I didn't know what it was. Nobody told me anything about it. And I just went on the journey, you know. But the second time I was able to watch how you're moving camera and not moving it and that sort of thing. Watching the language of it, which is so unique and so original. There are very few filmmakers on this level that are doing that, I think. No, it's remarkable body of work so far. Really. Well, the thing is that what happened was that we were at Lincoln Center, Ken Jones and I, and we were looking, it was when I had the Irishman at Lincoln Center, showed examples of modern films that we thought were remarkable filmmakers. And I showed a scene from Hereditary. We talked about how extraordinary the film is, these people who made this film. And in fact, you were in the audience, I didn't realize. You know, we were going to talk about Hereditary, it's right, boy. And seeing that again last week at the weekend. Wow. Again, remarkable for me, the way you compose and cut, and slight pans here and there, but very sharp, you know, that sort of thing, very precise, very well. I wanted to point out, though, that when I first saw the film, not knowing what the hell the film was going to be, the first thing that came to mind was such a major shift from, what seems like a major shift from Hereditary and Midsummer. In style and genre, picaresque things with this sort of, this sort of mock hero who, there is no plot, really. It's all adventures. But one of the things I think it's so important with new cinema, which it's very hard for me to see all of it that's out. And I'm still working on, thankfully, I think, working on my own films, so it's hard to find the time to look at a lot of stuff. But I find, for me, I think what you're doing in terms of structure here, I always try to find, I get excited by seeing different ways of approaching the structure of telling a story, where you're not locked into, there's this, I say it all the time, maybe repeating myself on it, but for years now people are talking about the first act, second act, and third act. And that's theater. I mean, theater is fine, I'm just saying, but it is theater, it's different. Now, you could have a terrific film version of a play, and it's not easy to do, you know. It's extraordinary, but not every film has to follow that structure. So I try to find a way to be free in the narrative films I'm trying to see. But this is what you do here with that structure.
What is thrilling you at the moment?
At the moment, it's hard because I try to keep up with the new films. Usually 20 minutes in, you know, or 15.
Did you see Robert Eggers' Nosferatu?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. Anything he does, this guy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that's one that you don't do much after seeing.
Right.
You're still in the world. You're in there. You're in Transylvania, and it's really, whoa. I mean, man, he's something. I enjoy watching thrillers and horror films. I know a lot of people problem with horror films, but I like, because the essence of horror, not the gory stuff, I'm talking about the nature of suspense, camera moves, character, perception of the characters and how they're perceiving these strange things happening, or do we really see the strange things?